Captain Maya Rice stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Headquarters, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. Her comlink buzzed for the 5th time in 10 minutes. She ignored it again. After 16 hours of simulations and debriefs, she deserved these few moments of peace. The peace shattered as every screen and device within view flickered simultaneously. Maya's military instincts kicked in. Coordinated electronic disruption was typically the first sign of attack. But instead of going dark, the screens displayed the same peculiar geometric pattern, pulsing with colors that seemed somehow wrong, as if they existed just beyond human perception. "Captain Reyes," said Director Chen, breathless from climbing the stairs, "we need you in command. Now." In the command center, dozens of analysts stared at the largest display where the pattern continued its hypnotic dance. Suddenly, the pattern collapsed inward, forming a 3-dimensional projection that hovered in the center of the room. The hologram coalesced into a humanoid figure composed of shimmering light. "People of Earth," the figure spoke, its voice resonating with harmonic undertones. "I am Emissary Vox of the Star League, a coalition of 23 sentient civilizations spanning this galactic arm." Maya's hand instinctively moved toward her sidearm. Director Chen gently shook his head. "We have observed your species for centuries," the emissary continued. "Your rapid technological development has warranted formal contact. The Star League extends an invitation to Earth. Send your finest representatives to participate in the Millennial Galactic Showdown." Murmurs filled the command center. Maya stepped forward. "What exactly is this showdown?" The emissary's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "A series of challenges to determine interstellar standing and territorial rights within our coalition. Each sentient species sends 12 champions to represent their collective potential." "And why would we participate in your competition?" Maya asked, her tactical mind already calculating angles and possibilities. "Because, Captain Rice." The emissary knew her name without introduction. "Regardless of outcome, participants receive technological insights that would advance your civilization by centuries. Consider it an accelerated admission test." After the emissary departed with coordinates for the rendezvous point, global debates raged for days. Some nations argued for isolation, others for enthusiastic participation. Eventually, pragmatism won. Earth couldn't afford to ignore advanced civilizations that already knew of their existence. Maya found herself appointed team leader, tasked with selecting 11 others to represent humanity. She chose not the obvious celebrities or politicians, but individuals with adaptability and unique perspectives. Dr. Elijah Chen, quantum theorist known for solving impossible equations; Sofia Rodriguez, engineer who built revolutionary recycling systems; Kwame Osi, ultramarathon champion with unmatched endurance; Jade Nakamura, wilderness survival expert; Dr. Tariq Hassan, linguistic savant; Professor Alexandra Ivanova, ancient warfare historian; and 5 other specialists in fields ranging from molecular gastronomy to game theory. 2 weeks later, they gathered at the coordinates, a remote mountain lake. As dawn broke, the water's surface rippled and parted, revealing a crystalline vessel rising from impossible depths. The transport craft hovered just above the surface, a doorway materializing in its seamless hull. "Remember," Maya told her team as they approached the gangway, "they invited us because they're curious, not because they consider us equals. They expect entertainment, not competition." Inside, the alien crew, beings of translucent azure with too many limbs moving in unsettling synchronization, studied the humans with obvious fascination. One approached Maya, its appendages arranging into a formal gesture. Representative of Earth, it communicated through some mechanism Maya felt more than heard. "You may observe departure from the viewing chamber." The humans watched through transparent walls as Earth diminished beneath them, clouds swirling over blue oceans and green-brown continents. When their planet became just another pale blue dot among countless stars, Maya turned to her team. Their expressions mirrored her own mix of awe, determination, and the dawning realization that they carried the hopes of an entire world on their shoulders. No instruction manual for representing a planet, Dr. Hassan murmured. Maya nodded. We'll write our own. The human team experienced faster-than-light travel as a peculiar stretching sensation, as though their consciousness briefly expanded beyond their bodies. Then reality snapped back into focus, and gasps filled the viewing chamber. Before them hung an artificial world unlike anything human imagination had conceived, the Showdown Arena. It resembled a massive hollow sphere composed of interlocking geometric structures, with its outer shell featuring landscapes from 1,000 worlds. Twin suns orbited the construct rather than the other way around, their engineered paths creating an eternal golden day across the structure's habitable zones. The combined achievement of 23 civilizations explained their azure guide, appendages rippling with what might have been pride. Constructed over 9 of your millennia specifically for showdown gatherings. The transport ship navigated toward a docking array where vessels of bewildering designs were already moored. Some appeared organic, pulsing with bioluminescence. Others defied conventional physics, seeming to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. How many competitors? Maya asked, studying the assembled fleet. 22 established members and your group, the guide answered, though several will undoubtedly be eliminated in early challenges. The unspoken implication hung in the air. Humans would be among the first to go. The arrival hall overwhelmed human senses with its impossible architecture. Ceilings that appeared simultaneously close and infinitely distant, gravity that subtly shifted depending on one's species' homeworld, and atmospheric composition that adjusted automatically around each delegation. Maya's team clustered together, confronted by the dizzying variety of competing species. Floating nearby, luminous cloud entities communicated through synchronized light pulses. Massive armored quadrupeds with 4 manipulator arms arranged crystal fragments into complex patterns on hovering platforms. Tiny beings no larger than insects controlled humanoid mechanical suits through neural interfaces. Sofia Rodriguez whispered a steady stream of engineering observations, while Dr. Hassan struggled to categorize the overlapping languages. Those are the ones to watch, Professor Ivanova murmured, nodding toward a group of reptilian beings whose scales shifted colors like living mood rings. Each wore an elaborate harness adorned with trophies. The way others give them space. They're the dominant competitors. As if sensing the attention, one of the reptilians turned. Its vertical pupils narrowed as it assessed the humans. With deliberate slowness, it drew a claw across its throat before turning away. Charming, said Quaim. I believe we've made friends already. A resonant tone silenced the assembly as a being composed of articulated light stepped onto a central dais. Unlike the holographic emissary who visited Earth, this entity had substance, light given mass and consciousness. I am the arena administrator, it announced, its voice reaching each species in their native tongue. Welcome to the Millennial Showdown. You stand in the presence of the greatest civilizations of this galactic sector. The administrator's gaze lingered on the human delegation, and some hopeful newcomers. Polite amusement rippled through the gathering. The administrator proceeded to explain the 7 challenges: mindscape navigation, testing cognitive processing, and abstract thinking, physical endurance, pushing biological and mechanical limits, environmental mastery, requiring adaptation to extreme conditions, coalition building, measuring diplomatic aptitude, creation under pressure, testing innovation with limited resources, battle simulation, evaluating tactical intelligence, and finally, the mysterious horizon potential, which the administrator described only as the measure of what might become. Each challenge eliminates weaker competitors, the administrator concluded. Only the worthy advance to the final trial. That evening, in their assigned quarters, surprisingly comfortable spaces adjusted to Earth conditions, the team gathered for Maya's assessment. Did you notice the gravity? She asked. It's precisely Earth normal in our sector. They're accommodating us, Dr. Chen suggested. Maya shook her head. They're ensuring we have no excuses when we fail. They've made everything just comfortable enough for us to participate, but not optimized for success." She smiled thinly. "Their certainty that we'll lose is actually our greatest advantage." No one spoke for a long moment, the enormity of their task settling over them. "When does the first challenge begin?" Jade finally asked. Maya's smile grew determined. "That's the first real test. They don't tell us." Maya woke to darkness and the disorienting sensation of floating. The familiar weight of gravity had vanished. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming, until a voice resonated directly in her mind. "Mindscape Navigation Challenge has commenced," announced the administrator. "Exit the cognitive labyrinth to advance." Reality shifted around her. Maya found herself standing at the entrance of an impossible structure. Corridors that twisted in non-Euclidean geometries, staircases that looped back on themselves, and doorways that opened into fractured reflections of the same room. The air itself seemed to vibrate with mathematical equations that floated like luminous symbols. Instinctively, she reached for her comlink to contact her team, but found nothing. She was alone, or so she thought, until a familiar voice echoed from somewhere nearby. "Captain Reyes." It was Dr. Chen. "I can hear you thinking." Somehow, their minds had been linked. Within minutes, Maya established mental contact with all 11 team members, each trapped in their own section of the labyrinth. The realization hit Chen first. This wasn't just a maze but a multidimensional puzzle requiring navigation through conceptual space as much as physical. The equations, Chen explained through their mental link. They're quantum positioning coordinates. If we solve them collaboratively, while other species approached the challenge as individuals, the humans formed a neural network of sorts. Chen interpreted the mathematical framework. Rodriguez visualized three-dimensional projections. Ivanova recognized patterns similar to ancient cartography, and the others contributed their specialized perspectives. Maya coordinated their efforts, synthesizing their insights into navigational decisions. Hours later, or perhaps minutes, time seemed fluid in the mindscape. 12 humans emerged simultaneously from the labyrinth, converging at a central platform where the administrator waited. Other species were already gathered, the cloud entities and microscopic hive minds having finished first. But many competitors were still trapped in the puzzle, including several of the reptilian champions. Fourth place, the administrator announced, light patterns expressing what might have been surprise, unexpected for a non-telepathic species. Murmurs rippled through the assembled competitors. Maya caught the hostile gaze of one of the reptilians who had just emerged, its scales flushed dark with what she interpreted as humiliation. The humans had barely recovered when the second challenge began. They were transported to an asteroid field with rapidly shifting gravitational pulls. Each competitor had to navigate through the field, collecting specific mineral samples while avoiding collision and dealing with unpredictable physics. "This is physically impossible," gasped Quaim as he struggled against a gravitational eddy that threatened to crush his environmental suit. "Their bodies evolved for this. We didn't." Maya watched the massive quadrupeds powering through gravitational waves that would flatten a human, while the cloud entities simply dispersed their consciousness to avoid obstacles entirely. "Rodriguez," she called through her comm. "Can you modify our suits?" The engineer was already working, repurposing components from their environmental systems to create crude gravitational stabilizers. They wouldn't match the natural abilities of their competitors, but they might prevent immediate elimination. "Done," Rodriguez announced. "But these are band-aids on bullet wounds. We need a different approach." Quaim, the marathon runner, studied the gravitational patterns. "It's like running in changing weather. We can't overpower it. We need to flow with it." He demonstrated a technique of using momentum and timing rather than fighting against the gravity shifts. The team adopted his method, conserving energy when possible and expending it only at crucial moments. It wasn't elegant, but it was effective enough to place them squarely in the middle of the rankings, an unremarkable position until observers realized they were the only competitors using pure skill rather than biological advantages or advanced technology. As they returned to their quarters, exhausted but still in the competition, a delegation approached. It was the reptilian competitors, led by a scared individual with elaborate markings. "I am Supreme Hunter Skaz," it announced through a translator. "You were not eliminated." Maya stood straighter despite her fatigue, disappointed. The reptilian scales rippled with color. "Your species has persistence," Skaz said, showing rows of serrated teeth in what might have been a smile or a threat display. An admirable, but ultimately futile quality. As the reptilians departed, Chen whispered, "I think that was almost a compliment." "No," Maya replied, watching Skaz's retreating form. "That was fear." "Environmental Mastery Challenge commences in 3 minutes," announced the arena administrator's voice through their quarters. The human team scrambled to finish checking their equipment. "Remember," Maya instructed, "stay aware of each other's positions, but don't cluster. We need maximum environmental data collection." The third challenge transported competitors to a massive biodome divided into rapidly shifting ecosystems. One moment Maya stood in a scorching desert, the next she was plunged into crushing oceanic depths, then a caustic cloud forest with acid rain pelting her protective suit. The transitions came without warning, forcing instantaneous adaptation. "Captain," Jade Nakamura's voice crackled through the comm. "These shifts aren't random. I'm detecting a pattern in the weather systems." As wilderness survival specialist, Jade had developed an almost supernatural sensitivity to environmental changes. While other competitors focused on enduring each environment individually, Jade recognized the ecological interconnections between seemingly disparate biomes. The desert heat creates pressure systems that trigger the oceanic currents, which feed moisture to the acid forest, she explained. "If we can predict the next shift, we can prepare before it happens." Maya relayed this insight to the team. They began positioning themselves strategically, anticipating transitions rather than merely reacting. Dr. Hassan developed a simplified code to quickly communicate environmental warnings, while Jade created a predictive model that grew more accurate with each transition. Hours into the challenge, Maya noticed something odd about their competitors. Species that dominated in specific environments, the crystalline entities thriving in desert heat, the aquatic collectives excelling underwater, floundered when forced to rapidly adapt. The versatility that humans took for granted was surprisingly rare among specialized evolutionary paths. "Second place," announced the administrator when the challenge concluded. "Earth demonstrates remarkable environmental adaptivity." As the team recovered, Maya studied the scoring display. Something felt off about the numbers. While reviewing recordings of their performance, she noticed subtle adjustments being made to evaluation metrics after humans performed unexpectedly well in certain categories. "They're moving the goalposts," she whispered to Chen. His eyes narrowed. "That would suggest they're genuinely concerned about our performance." The fourth challenge came without the customary rest period, a clear attempt to tax human endurance. The coalition-building trial required competitors to form alliances with other species to solve increasingly complex diplomatic scenarios within a simulated interstellar community. The reptilian vortex hunters immediately targeted human efforts, using their established influence to dissuade potential allies. Maya watched as 3 promising negotiations collapsed after vortex hunter intervention. "They're isolating us," Hassan observed, frustration evident in his voice. "And the universal translators are inadequate. Too many conceptual gaps between species." Rather than accepting the limitations of the provided technology, Hassan began developing a simplified communication system based on mathematical principles and shared physical constants. While other species relied on translators that converted concepts directly between languages, Hassan created a more fundamental bridge, a basic pidgin language that captured essential meanings without cultural baggage. "It's not elegant," he admitted, "but it's more effective for building understanding between truly alien minds." This approach resonated particularly with species that had traditionally struggled with the standardized communication systems designed by dominant civilizations. The Luminous Collective, crystalline entities who communicated primarily through light modulation, found Hassan's system refreshingly accessible. Your approach lacks technological sophistication, their representative communicated, light patterns flickering rapidly, yet achieves superior practical outcomes. With this unexpected opening, Maya established a coalition of traditionally marginalized species. While the major powers formed their typical alliances, the human-led coalition of outsiders proved remarkably nimble in addressing the simulated crisis. When the Vortex Hunters attempted to sabotage a critical resource-sharing agreement, Maya's team had already established enough trust with their partners to maintain cohesion. The coalition successfully navigated the final diplomatic crisis, earning 4th place overall, another result that defied expectations. As they exited the simulation chamber, Maya noticed several smaller species studying the humans with newfound interest. The message was clear. The underdogs recognized kindred spirits. "They're watching us now," Ivanova murmured. "Not just the predators, but the prey." Maya nodded. "And that's exactly what we need. Allies who understand what it means to be underestimated." Creation under pressure commences, the administrator announced as the human team was transported to a vast simulation chamber. Your challenge: protect your assigned star system from cosmic catastrophe with limited resources. Each competitor received control of a simulated planetary system facing imminent disaster: a neutron star collision course, radiation storm, or gravitational anomaly. Available resources appeared as holographic inventories, energy reserves, raw materials, and technological options reflective of each species' development level. Maya scanned their meager allocation. "They've given us 21st century Earth technology, while everyone else has tools centuries beyond us." The team gathered around their simulation station, studying the approaching catastrophe, in their case, a massive coronal mass ejection heading toward their inhabited planets. Other competitors immediately began constructing elaborate defensive systems or evacuation technologies. "We can't match their shielding capabilities," Rodriguez stated, examining their options. "But look at how they're approaching this. Every species is hoarding resources for themselves." Maya observed the other competitors. Indeed, each team focused exclusively on protecting their own worlds, often at the expense of neighboring systems. The Vortex Hunters had already commandeered resources from smaller competitors, forcing them toward elimination. "What if we share?" suggested Dr. Chen. "Our history has taught us to function with scarcity. They've evolved with abundance." The team developed a radical approach. Rather than attempting to fully shield their planets, they created a distributed network of smaller deflectors, then offered surplus materials to struggling neighboring systems in exchange for cooperative defense. The strategy horrified resource-rich competitors, but resonated with species facing similar limitations. When a critical deflector junction failed in the Luminous Collective system, Maya made a decision that shocked observers. She redirected human resources to assist them, even though it meant increased risk to Earth's simulated worlds. "There are allies," she explained to her concerned team. "And sometimes survival requires sacrifice." The simulation concluded with humanity placing 5th, a respectable showing. More significantly, they had saved the Luminous Collective from elimination, earning profound gratitude from the crystalline beings. However, the Vortex Hunters viewed this cooperative approach as threatening to the established competitive order. That evening, Maya noticed reptilian representatives engaging in intense discussions with other dominant species. Soon after, unsettling rumors began circulating through the arena. Claims that humans plan to use the competition to assess galactic defenses before unleashing billions of aggressive colonists from their overcrowded world. "They're trying to isolate us again," Ivanova noted as previously friendly competitors began avoiding them. Maya confronted Supreme Hunter Skaz during the communal meal period. "These rumors are false," she stated firmly. "Humanity seeks partnership, not domination." Skaz's scales rippled with dark amusement. Your kind reproduces rapidly and consumes resources voraciously. Your history is written in conquest. Why should the galaxy believe otherwise? Because we've learned from our mistakes, Maya replied, loud enough for nearby competitors to hear, something your species seems incapable of doing. The exchange created a tense silence. Maya continued, you've ruled through fear for so long you've forgotten true leadership requires inspiring others, not intimidating them. Skaz's scales flushed with rage, but the reptilian maintained composure. Bold words from a species one challenge away from elimination. That night, as the team slept, the environmental systems in their quarters malfunctioned. A subtle toxin began seeping through the ventilation. Dr. Chen, working late on calculations, noticed the slight discoloration in the air and triggered emergency protocols. Sabotage, Rodriguez confirmed after analyzing the system, specifically calibrated for human biology. Though they identified the toxin in time to prevent fatalities, 2 team members, Quame and Jade, required medical stasis, their respiratory systems too damaged to continue competing. Maya stood beside their medical pods, her expression hardening. They're afraid enough to try eliminating us directly. What do we do? Asked Hassan. File a complaint with the administrator. She shook her head. No, we win the next challenge, with or without a full team. Professor Ivanova studied Maya's determined expression. They've made a critical error, haven't they? Yes, Maya replied quietly. They've made it personal. The battle simulation arena sprawled across an entire section of the arena, a massive holographic theater where virtual fleets and armies could wage bloodless wars. Competitors gathered on observation platforms as the administrator explained the challenge. Each delegation will command forces proportionate to their civilization's military capacity, the light being announced. Multiple scenarios will test tactical adaptation. Elimination occurs after 2 consecutive defeats. Maya surveyed their opponents. Despite the sabotage, most competitors seemed to expect an easy victory against the undermanned human team. The Vortex Hunters particularly exuded confidence, their scales shimmering with anticipatory patterns. The humans were assigned a modest command center with holographic interfaces representing Earth's current military capabilities, a fraction of what other species controlled. 10 team members now did the work of 12, with Rodriguez and Hassan covering the responsibilities of their injured colleagues. First scenario commences, announced the administrator. Defensive action against superior forces. The simulation materialized around them. Earth's solar system facing an incoming invasion fleet. The Vortex Hunters commanded the attacking forces, their virtual armada dwarfing Earth's defenses. Supreme Hunter Skaz's voice echoed through the communication channel. A fitting scenario, the reptilian commander hissed. Perhaps you should practice surrender protocols. Maya studied the tactical display, noting the hunters' methodical approach, standard formation, overwhelming firepower, predictable attack vectors. They expected a conventional defense and quick victory. They think like predators accustomed to easy kills, Maya observed to her team. Let's think like prey that refuses to die. Instead of meeting the attack head-on, Maya ordered unconventional maneuvers. Earth's smaller vessels used the solar system's gravitational fields for slingshot accelerations. Automated drones sacrificed themselves to create debris fields that disrupted enemy formations. Civilian ships converted to improvised min layers seeded key approach vectors. What are they doing? Skaz demanded as the human tactics disrupted his carefully planned assault. The Vortex Hunters' superior firepower should have guaranteed victory, but their formations kept fracturing against Maya's chaotic defense. When Skaz committed his reserve fleet to a final push, Maya sprung her trap, a concentrated counterattack against the now exposed command ships. Simulation complete, the administrator announced. Earth successfully defends. Shocked silence filled the arena. Then murmurs erupted as observers processed the unexpected outcome. The humans had defeated the tournament favorites in the first round. Subsequent scenarios grew increasingly complex: urban pacification operations, resource denial campaigns, asymmetric warfare simulations. Maya's team approached each with strategies that confounded conventional military doctrine. They sacrificed territory to gain tactical advantage, employed psychological operations to undermine enemy morale, and prioritized adaptability over firepower. By the final scenario, a complex multi-front engagement requiring simultaneous offensive and defensive operations, only 4 delegations remained in contention. The human team, though exhausted, had found their rhythm. Professor Ivanova's historical knowledge proved invaluable, allowing them to draw from thousands of years of Earth's military experiences rather than relying solely on contemporary doctrine. Final simulation complete, the administrator declared, "Earth achieves first position in Battle Simulation Challenge." The announcement stunned the assembly. Maya's team had not only survived but dominated the trial that should have eliminated them. The Vortex Hunters, placing second, radiated barely contained fury. During the post-challenge analysis, Ivanova made a disturbing discovery while reviewing historical showdown data. Pattern irregularities in scoring algorithms confirmed Maya's earlier suspicions. Subtle manipulations had maintained the same species at the top rankings for centuries. "The competition is rigged," Ivanova whispered, showing Maya the evidence. "Has been for millennia." Maya studied the data, then quietly shared it with their allies in the Luminous Collective. The crystalline beings, renowned for their dedication to truth, received the information with vibrating intensity. "This requires verification," their representative communicated. "If confirmed, it undermines the foundation of the Star League." As they departed the simulation arena, Supreme Hunter Skaz intercepted Maya in a secluded corridor. "Impressive performance," the reptilian acknowledged, scales displaying complex patterns. "But the final challenge remains." "Looking forward to it," Maya replied evenly. Skaz leaned closer. "You've earned my respect, Captain Reyes. That compels me to offer warning. The final challenge is not what you think. Powerful interests will never allow newcomers to upset the balance." Before Maya could respond, the hunter departed, leaving her with the unsettling certainty that the greatest challenge lay not in the competition itself, but in the invisible politics surrounding it. "Final participants, prepare for the Horizon Potential Challenge," the administrator announced, its luminous form pulsing with formal patterns. Only 4 delegations remained: the Vortex Hunters, the Luminous Collective, the Microscopic Hive Minds, and, against all expectations, Earth. The human team gathered in their quarters for a final strategy session. The evidence of competition manipulation had been verified by the Luminous Collective, but they agreed to withhold action until after the final challenge. "What exactly is Horizon Potential?" Rodriguez asked, adjusting the environmental settings for their injured teammates, now conscious but still recovering. "According to historical records, it measures evolutionary potential," Ivanova explained. "But those same records show it's where the most significant scoring manipulations occur." Maya nodded. "A subjective test is the perfect place to rig results." The isolation chambers for the final challenge resembled translucent eggs, each sized for its occupant species. As the human team entered their designated chambers, Maya felt a subtle vibration beneath her feet. The transparent walls turned opaque, cutting her off from her teammates. "Horizon Potential commences," the administrator's voice echoed through her mind rather than her ears. "Prepare for deep evaluation." The chamber filled with scintillating light that seemed to penetrate Maya's consciousness. Images flashed through her mind. Earth scenes spanning history and geography, moments of humanity's greatest achievements and darkest failures. She witnessed the building of the pyramids, the horror of genocide, the moon landing, children laughing, wars raging, art being created. Then something unexpected happened. The evaluation expanded beyond her individual perception. Somehow, Maya could sense her teammates experiencing the same phenomenon, their consciousnesses linked in a shared vision. Together, They witnessed possible futures branching out before humanity. Technological utopias, environmental collapses, interstellar migrations, evolutionary diversification. The vision shifted to reveal how humans might influence galactic society, bringing unpredictability, creativity, and evolutionary pressure to a system grown stagnant through stability. Some futures showed humans causing beneficial disruption that revitalized ancient civilizations. Others revealed catastrophic cultural contamination that destroyed delicate social equilibriums. Your species defies standard evaluation, the administrator's presence noted within their shared consciousness. Most civilizations follow predictable developmental paths. Yours branches chaotically. That's our nature, Maya projected the thought. We contain contradictions. Precisely why your inclusion presents such risk, came the response. And such potential reward. The vision began to fragment as the administrator attempted to quantify their evaluation. Maya sensed confusion in the scoring metrics. The system struggled to categorize humanity's chaotic potential into established parameters. Meanwhile, outside the isolation chambers, the Luminous Collective had presented the evidence of competition manipulation to the remaining delegations. The crystalline beings projected historical data demonstrating centuries of algorithmic adjustments that maintained the same hierarchical outcomes regardless of actual performance. The arena erupted in diplomatic chaos. Lesser species that had accepted their perpetual lower rankings now demanded investigations. The microscopic hive minds temporarily abandoned their individual competitions to form a unified protest collective. Even some vortex hunters broke ranks, younger members challenging their elders' complacency in a rigged system. Inside the vision, Maya and her team sensed the external disruption as ripples in their shared consciousness. The administrator's presence grew distracted, its evaluation protocols disrupted by the unprecedented situation unfolding outside. The vision abruptly terminated. The isolation chamber walls became transparent again, revealing a scene of confusion. Delegates argued vehemently while arena security attempted to maintain order. The administrator hovered at the center, its luminous form flickering with conflicting patterns. The horizon potential evaluation has been suspended, it announced, its harmonics discordant. The Star League Council will convene immediately to address serious allegations regarding showdown integrity. As Maya exited her chamber, she found Supreme Hunter Skaz waiting nearby, scales displaying complex patterns she couldn't interpret. "You did this," the reptilian stated. "Not an accusation, an observation." "We discovered the truth," Maya corrected. "Your people maintained it." Skaz's inner eyelids flickered. The established order preserved stability for millennia. "Stability isn't the same as justice," Maya replied. "Or progress." The reptilian studied her with ancient eyes. "Perhaps that is why your kind truly frightens us, Captain Reyes. Not your potential for violence. All species possess that. But your relentless drive to change what is comfortable." Before Maya could respond, the arena's communication system chimed with an urgent announcement. "All delegation leaders report to council chamber immediately. Final evaluation postponed indefinitely." The Star League Council chamber resembled an ancient amphitheater, with concentric rings of seating surrounding a central speaking platform. Representatives from all 23 civilizations filled the chamber, an unprecedented full assembly called into session by the emergency. The administrator presided from an elevated position, its luminous form projecting formal patterns of distress. "This council convenes to address allegations of impropriety in showdown evaluations. Evidence suggests historical manipulation of results." Projected data from the Luminous Collective filled the chamber, centuries of subtle adjustments ensuring the same species consistently dominated regardless of actual performance. Supreme Hunter Skaz took the speaking platform, scales darkened with indignation. "These humans have deliberately undermined our sacred tradition. I move for their immediate disqualification and removal from Star League space." Shouts of agreement mingled with protests. Maya watched the division forming, established powers against marginalized species, tradition against change. When invited to defend Earth's actions, she approached the platform with quiet determination. "We didn't come here seeking victory in your competition," she began, her voice carrying through the chamber. "We came to earn a place among the stars. But what place is worth having in a system built on deception?" The chamber quieted as Maya activated a holographic display showing Earth's history, civilizations rising and falling, cultures blending and evolving, technologies advancing through cooperation and competition. "Humanity has repeatedly built, faltered, and rebuilt," she continued. "Our greatest strength isn't intelligence, adaptability, or even creativity. It's our capacity to recognize our flaws and strive to overcome them." She shifted the display to show comparative technological development rates. "Your civilizations have achieved wonders, but look at the innovation curve. It's flattened across most Star League species. Stability has bred stagnation." Outraged murmurs rose from several delegations, but others leaned forward with interest. "I propose transforming the showdown into something more valuable. The Galactic Summit, a collaborative gathering focused on mutual advancement rather than dominance," Maya explained. "A place where species share strengths rather than exploit weaknesses." The chamber divided into heated discussions. The administrator called for order as factions formed along predictable lines. Dominant species defending tradition, lesser powers supporting change. Then something unexpected happened. Supreme Hunter Skaz requested the platform again. The chamber fell silent, anticipating another denunciation of the humans. "For 15 millennia, I have represented the Vortex Hunters in this chamber," the ancient reptilian began, scales shifting to formal patterns. "I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have witnessed our own decline from conquerors to administrators." Skaz turned to face the human delegation. "Captain Rice speaks an uncomfortable truth. Our dominance has made us complacent. Our victories became expected rather than earned." The reptilian scales rippled with what might have been regret. "Perhaps we need the chaos these humans bring." The chamber erupted in shocked discussions. Skaz, the embodiment of traditional power, had broken ranks. The balance shifted as younger members of dominant species joined progressive factions. After hours of debate, the administrator called for a decision. "The Council will vote on transformation of showdown protocols as proposed by Earth." The vote proceeded delegation by delegation. The outcome remains uncertain until the final moments. By the narrowest margin, the proposal passed. The millennial showdown tradition would end, replaced by the Galactic Summit for collaborative advancement. Earth received provisional membership in the renamed Stellar Alliance, with probationary status to be reviewed after 5 Earth years. As the Council adjourned, delegations surrounded the humans with questions and propositions. Species that had never interacted now engaged in animated discussions about potential collaborations. The rigid hierarchy that had defined galactic society for millennia began dissolving into more flexible cooperative networks. Maya found a moment of quiet as her team prepared for their journey home. She stood at a viewport, watching the twin suns set behind the artificial world of the arena, soon to be repurposed as the summit grounds. Supreme Hunter Skaz approached, accompanied by a younger reptilian. "This is First Hunter Kress, my successor," Skaz introduced. "She will represent our people at your Earth to begin diplomatic relations." "We would be honored," Maya replied. "You changed everything," Skaz observed, "without firing a weapon or winning the game." Maya smiled. "That's the most human approach of all. We don't always need to win the competition if we can improve the system." The ancient hunter's scales displayed a pattern Maya hadn't seen before. In 10,000 years of showdowns, no species ever questioned why we compete rather than collaborate. Perhaps that is your species' true victory. As the human team boarded their transport vessel for the journey home, Maya took a final look at the gathered representatives of 23 civilizations. The stars no longer represented distant impossibilities, but future destinations in humanity's unexpected cosmic journey, not as conquerors or competitors, but as catalysts for change. Earth hadn't won the Galactic Showdown in the traditional sense. They had made it irrelevant, and in doing so, won something far more valuable.